Ladies and gentlemen, Cover Killer Nation, we have to talk about Disciples of the Sun by Pyramaze. I say we have to talk about things. Really, I don't mean that like someone's placing a gun to my temple and saying, if you don't talk about this, I'll fucking kill you. No, I say this because these are albums, whenever we discuss them, that deserve the conversation, that actually deserve not only the exposure, but also to really be on the tongues of music fans, whether they be metal fans or if it's a non-metal album. Well, it doesn't really matter. We need to talk about Disciples of the Sun. We need to talk about Pyramaze's first album in 7 years. This group that gave us such terrific albums such as Melancholy Beast, and actually at one point in time, this power progressive metal group had Matt Barlow, of course, famously in Iced Earth within their ranks, and then he quit, and then he was back, and then he quit again, and I don't know. Matt Barlow is an interesting case. We'll just put it to you like that. So let's talk about Disciples of the Sun. Let's talk about this 12-track affair. And there have been a lot of mixed reactions out there by a lot of people based off of this album. Some people claim that this is Pyramaze's best album to date, and some will say that this is actually the weakest of the bunch. But there's one thing that you're going to sense throughout speaking to somebody about this group, somebody who is a long-term fan, is the fact that it's definitely not one that has come across as a disappointment. This is not an album that really fails. This is instead one whose successes, at least for this reviewer, feel a little bit muted. And there are a couple of reasons for that that we're going to discuss. Disciples of the Sun is able to really accentuate some of the best portions that this band has to offer, and that's the fact that they do have a very, very strong riff-based guitar center to them. Not to mention their orchestrations, their construction is very well tailored for this field. It's something where really the power metal side of their sound is very much at the forefront. However, whenever the progressive side does make an appearance, it's one that certainly makes a potent and immediate impact. It's something that stands out, and that's why power progressive metal, I feel, really has a very distinct tone of difference comparative to just standard and traditional power metal. It's one thing that helps to separate them. Now, Pyramaze has a new vocalist on this record, and it's something where that will also cause an immediate shift in attention and feeling, even though this vocalist seems to have a lot of the same potent abilities that were possessed by the forebears of this vocalist. I mean, he has a great range. It's something where his high range certainly is more so the accentuated portion as opposed to his lows, but he does have a sensible range that is able to really handle all of the things that Pyramaze would really kind of expect for him. And the overall tone of this album does have a certain level of a little bit more of a heavier or maybe a darker tone to it, but this was also something that Pyramaze has kind of made within their image over the course of their career. I just feel that this is an album, consistent as it may be, flows so well as it does. It's one that the memory of this album carries very little weight. I feel like early songs on this disc, such as The Battle for Pyramaze or Back for More, really emanate a lot more in my mind than the latter portions do, although Hope Springs Eternal is a fantastic track, as well as When Black Turns to White. These are two excellent songs. I feel that Photograph is a bit of a weak finale for this album, and I think that does hurt it in a lot of different ways. But this is an album that just doesn't feel like it commits itself to your memory with that instant rapidity that causes it to stand out, not to mention causes it to maintain itself as just a solid and robust release here in 2015. It's one where I feel that in spite of the strength of some of its material, it's going to easily sort of be drowned out by the noise that is created by some of the heavier hitters that this year has already given us, and especially by any heavy hitter that may follow it afterward. So this is an album that, sadly, whenever it comes to the pantheon of albums in 2015, just doesn't have that same resonance to it as the greats that we have already borne witness to and the ones that are to come. And I'm actually going to surprise you by saying that's a good thing. That's actually a great thing. And that's because the next album by Pyramaze, if this is the Pyramaze of the future, if this is the lineup of the future, The next album is the one that you really should be looking out for anyway. That's the one that you should be paying attention to. The one that follows this. They now have gotten their bearings together. They've gotten their comeback from 7 years of inactivity out of the way. The next album is the one that you need to look at. This is a sizable and suitable enough return album that it holds its own. And that's all that you should really have expected from it. That's all that you should really have demanded of it. And it does that. So the next album, the second album, the one that follows this one, should be the one that has all of your attention and expectations linked to it, considering now there's no excuses. I would give this album probably a 78 out of 100. Like I said, it's one that, in spite of its solid nature, just does not have that same level of real memorable content that I've heard on Pyramaze albums in the past. Melancholy Beast just stands out to me. It's just such a very, very well-constructed disc that it's really hard to avoid talking about that. What did you guys think about this album? What did you guys think about Disciples of the Sun by Pyramaze? Let me know in the comments below. And pop over to the Facebook page that is linked down in the description box below and join the conversation and see if you can, if your suggestion will be the next album that will be reviewed here on the Cover Killer Nation channel. I also want to know what you guys would like to see next, or what would be your dream album review on this channel. Put that in the either the comments below or pop over to the Facebook page and leave it over there. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you all later.